everyone. It's been a while. I haven't uploaded in quite some time, but I don't really know. I don't really have a topic for this video, to be honest with you. I think this is kind of just more of a life update, what I've been up to, things I've been feeling, the good and the bad. And I don't know. Yeah, I guess just that sort of videos. So definitely not like my other ones, but regardless, I guess as a bit of an update, it's been about I think 21 days or so, a little less than a month since I last uploaded. Um, stuff I've been up to has been pretty mundane, pretty much average. To be honest, it's kind of depressing looking back at it. Um, for the most part, just been grinding it out at work. I have performance reviews coming up, and been kind of preparing for those because I do have the actual performance review call or meeting or whatever you want to call it, interview next week. So there is that. Um, so hopefully it goes well. But that's kind of what I've been up to. A lot of shit at work. Just end of fiscal year sort of thing. We're wrapping it up. We're trying to get as much done as we possibly can. All the projects through the door. So that's I think that's probably another reason why that I haven't been exactly active on YouTube. Um, so that's kind of the neutral stuff that's been going on. Just stuff that I guess you could kind of expect, really. The good stuff that did end up happening. Actually, you know what? Let me start with the bad. I'll start with the bad, and then we'll go into the good. I think that'll be better. All right. So the bad stuff. What has happened in the past month that just absolutely fucking crushed me? Um, well, I made my first mistake at work. I guess that's one more recently. It wasn't a huge mistake. I wouldn't say that it was necessarily all my fault, and I don't know. I mean, that's at least what I've been told when I had discussions with the people that were involved in this situation. But it was a data validation situation, and I didn't I didn't make the right call. Um, I did make a mistake. I owned up to it, and I told them. I said, "Hey, guys, this is on me." But then I was told that actually it's not entirely on me, and that there were similar mistakes happening across the company. So I was like, okay, you know, not to say that it excused what I did, but it's interesting, I guess. Kind of gave me a better feeling. Made me feel a little bit better, but it's my first mistake, big mistake, I guess. So a year of my tenure into the company. So it is what it is, right? Um, so there's the bad. Definitely felt like the end of the world at the time, but now it's kind of I look back at it and it's like, it's not terrible, right? Like it's not like the project was it was like pre-implementation project sort of situation. Like it wasn't like the project was already in motion and then like I find out 3 months later, holy shit, I was completely wrong about the financials of said project. You know what I mean? Like it was pretty minor in terms of mistakes, how mistakes go, but there's that. Um yeah, so there is that. The other bad thing that I guess kind of sticks out to me the most is, to be honest, I have not been the most consistent, just in general. For the past couple of weeks, I have been kind of depressed. I've been kind of, you know, I've been trying to, I guess, it didn't really dawn on me that I was depressed or that I was feeling upset to some extent. Um, I don't know. It's kind of interesting. It's weird to say it on a YouTube video, but but no, I have definitely been kind of not in the greatest of moods. It's a mixture of things, to be honest with you. I mean, one of which is definitely just the work. My job is okay. I can't complain about my job. I love the people that I work with. To be honest, my managers are super chill. I mean, I couldn't have asked for a better team to work with. Um, but I think the job that I'm looking for is just there's not much growth. I'm about a a year into the job, and there's not much growth. And so what I mean by that, I have not been consistent, I mean that I haven't been consistent with things like, my quant learning stuff. As you guys know, and as I've kind of mentioned in the past, um, I want to get into quant. I'm not super confident in my skills, to be honest with you. I mean, I could go into an interview, and if they were to ask me, how proficient do you feel in Python, I'd probably say beginner still. Whether that's true or not, to be honest, I don't know because I just don't have a mentor. All of my colleagues, all of my friends that I do know, um, that are in finance in general are, they don't code. Um, so I don't know. Maybe I'm trying to find a mentor. I'm trying to find a person that I guess can kind of help me, guide me through that stuff. Uh, I've never been the type to ask for help, but I think in a situation like this, it's probably where I need it. To be honest, because I haven't been consistent. It's been tough. I've been trying to find data engineering jobs or data science jobs around me that maybe pay higher, a little bit closer to friends, family, possibly. But it's been tough, in the job market, to be honest with you. It's really, the job market really is just ass overall. The stuff that they ask is just like 10 years, 10 plus years of experience. So I think for now, the job that I currently have, even though it's maybe not the most fulfilling, maybe it's not what I want to do for the rest of my life, it's something. I get paid well, can't argue with a six-figure salary, really. But yeah, it is what it is. And so I guess the bad for me there, the second bad thing that's been kind of on my mind recently is that I haven't been consistent. And so I'm slowly getting back into it. I have a schedule of how I do things. So in the morning, I usually start with like just some mental math, single digit stuff, like the 12 by, the times, the 12 by 12 times table, you know what I mean? Like that sort of stuff. And just, I wake up early in the morning. I do that off the spot, you know, and, um, and then I go for a 30-minute walk. Then I come back, I'm working, right? Um, that's if I'm working from home. If let's say that I'm not working from home, if I'm in the office, then I'm usually, I get into the office, I do the mental math stuff first, check my email, get, blah, blah, blah. And then I don't know, around 10, 11 a.m., I usually just go and take a walk, and then I come back and I finish up work. And then, you know, if I have downtime, I'll do some, linear algebra, whatever stuff, right? And that I guess kind of leads to the second part of, that is, I haven't been consistent with my linear algebra stuff and really just my math stuff in general. I've been trying to learn the basics, stochastic calculus, linear algebra, statistics, all that stuff. And it's stuff that I've learned in college, and it's only been about a year since I've, last been in college. Um, but I definitely want to be better about that, and I guess like more recently I've been trying, but definitely within the past couple of weeks I haven't been the most consistent, which is it's a pain point for me. It's kind of disappointing, because it's like, come on, man, like I could do that. I have the time, and instead I mope around and I don't know, I just get into my head too much, I guess. So, but yeah, that's the bad. I guess just not being consistent. I'm getting back into it though. I've been reading books. I feel like I'm on a pretty decent trajectory. I still go to the gym. The gym is still a good place for me to get my emotions out. Lift some weights, stuff like that. Um, yeah, just stuff like that. And I get, the other the third bad thing I guess that kind of stands out to me right now is, I'm just not. I haven't really been active in general. And what I mean by active is, it's summer. um, and I haven't gone out to like travel or anything like that. You know, for those of you that don't know, I live in New York, and you know, I feel like I could do better. because I feel like I could just go out and travel, you know. I could go to Boston, I mean, hell, I could go somewhere upstate, upstate, whatever. Like I can do whatever, man. You know what I mean? Like I got a car, like I make good money, I can spend money and stuff like that. Like I can realistically just go out and try to enjoy myself, but I don't know. I find myself just kind of like sitting at home doing nothing most of the time. Um, and just I wouldn't say I find myself bored, but it's like when I do have that downtime, I don't really utilize it correctly. Um, sometimes I just find myself like doom scrolling or whatever, watching these like YouTube videos that are just so fucking useless, to be honest with you. Like most of the YouTube videos I used to watch were like all educational shit, and like now I'm watching shit about like, for example, some stupid shit like $200,000 Lego that just got like stolen or whatever the fuck. Like realistically, that doesn't matter in my life. You know what I mean? Like I don't live in Oregon. I don't. Why do I give a fuck about a case like that? You know what I mean? But I don't know. It's like I'm just trying to fill my life up with like useless shit, basically useless information, and like not really focusing on what I really need to be focusing on. And I guess looking back at it, it's kind of depressing. It's like, come on, like what am I doing? You know what I mean? Like I this it's just such a waste of time, really, um, on my end. But that's my gripe, I guess. So yeah, just these three things. I mean, mistake at work and not being consistent, and um, just kind of isolating myself a lot, which I find it's not the best thing in the world. Um, so not that great. But yeah, yeah, that's about. I think that's about like kind of what I have for the bad stuff. I mean, who knows? Other stuff might come out. I don't know. I mean, trying to think back, it's only been about a month, and I just feel like there's just so much shit that's been going on that I haven't really been able to um figure it all out, to digest it all, I guess. So, um, moving on. In terms of the good stuff, there were some good stuff that happened. Um, Pretty happy. I actually was so I actually recently bought myself a figure. I guess for those of you that don't know, I'm into anime. I'm into a lot of different gacha games and stuff like that. The one that I play the most right now is Nikke. Um, I really love the story, I will say. Um, but yeah, like I don't know, been getting back into watching anime as well. I just recently finished up, the season 3 of MF Ghost, which is it's like the sequel story to Initial D. Super cool. I mean, I loved it. I'm finding myself to be a little bit more passionate about, um, connecting with people and learning languages and stuff. Um, you know, like for those of you that don't know, I come from a mixed background. My dad's from Hong Kong, my mom's from Ukraine, and the primary language that was spoken at home was really a mixture, to be honest. My dad spoke a lot of Cantonese to me. That kind of stopped after a little bit, especially after my brother was born, because they fell for the whole myth of language confusion at a early age, stuff like that. So my brother doesn't know like any of our native languages other than English, I guess. Um, but or the mother tongue, I guess, or whatever. So, but I do know, I do speak Cantonese. I do speak Russian. My mom's from Mariupol, so she specifically spoke Russian a lot more than Ukrainian, so I ended up learning Russian a lot more. Um, I picked up Japanese when I was in high school as well. None of my family members are Japanese. I have no relation really to Japan in general, but I just loved it because of anime. I got into Initial D, Darling in the Franxx, and I was like, holy shit, I gotta learn the language. I can't keep on, you know. reading the subtitles. So that was literally why I decided to learn the language, because I just was so tired of reading the subtitles, and I didn't want to listen to dub. So I said, "Fuck it, I'm gonna learn Japanese." That started in high school, and I continued that in college. And so I even got a minor degree in Japanese language, Japanese studies and stuff. So that's pretty cool. And in the past year or so, my Japanese has been kind of on and off. I still know Japanese. I can still have conversations with people and stuff like that, but it's definitely not as fluent as I want it to be. Um, Especially I want to kind of learn the more like business words, I guess, that are used in Japan. If I can work in Japan as like an expat or something like that, that'd be pretty cool. But um, I don't know. I think it'd be kind of cool if I could do that. I think I just kind of want to do it to further uh my language learning. Um, I'm also I'm learning. I'm trying to learn Korean. I'm trying to learn uh Ukrainian as well. So there's that stuff. But I kind of found myself like recently just kind of getting back into learning those languages. Maybe not so much on Japanese, but I would say Korean and Ukrainian. I've just been like, hey, you know what? Like I made a vow, I made a promise to myself that I would learn Ukrainian specifically for my mom, for my aunt, that stuff. And I was like, why not I do that? So I'm learning that stuff. So I get that's a good thing for me, because I'm finding passion in doing something again. And I'm trying to make it consistent part of my schedule. I don't want this to be like a fleeting thing where it's like, oh, I have a little bit more time now, I can do. No, it's like I want to make it a consistent. I want it to be part of my schedule. you know so I'm figuring it out, but I'm finding passion in it again. um I would say, with all the other shit that's been going on in my life, it's kind of like one of the more important, you know, things that in my life that I really need to kind of keep, is that passion for learning languages. So, but yeah. Anyways, what was it? What else would I say? Yeah, I started learning, or not learning. I started, I bought myself a figure and like a cup noodle, like 3D model or whatever. It was for it's from Bandai Namco, and apparently they sell these like cup noodle things or whatever. You got to use those like tweezer looking things, that basically you put them together kind of like a Lego set almost in a way. So yeah, I bought that, and then I've been kind of bought some figures as well that I've been wanting for a while. It was in my shopping list for like months on end, and I was like, hey, I got some extra money, like I should probably reward myself a little bit at least, right? Um, I guess the other good thing for me as well is, I've been finding myself to be, uh, this is more recent, I will admit, probably like within the past week or so, but I've definitely been good about kind of keeping my head on straight. Um, there are times where, I mean, I'm human. There are times where I get pissed, I get upset, I say something I don't need to say, I shouldn't have said, or whatever. But I definitely find myself being a little bit more like reasonable, I would say. Um, I find myself kind of thinking a little bit more clearly. Um, and I think that's a good thing, to be honest with you. But there is a reason to that, I think, and for me it was kind of out of necessity, in all honesty. And I guess that kind of goes back to some of the bad, but it's not that bad. It's just. But for those of you that don't know, yeah, I live up in the Northeast, right? I live in New York. Um, I don't have anyone up here, really. I mean, maybe some friends, right? Uh, Most of them are busy. Most of them are far. Um, and my family as well. I don't have any family that's close to me. I mean, I think I got maybe some family in Jersey, but like, you know, it take a while to get there, and they're also busy. I got a cousin that's going to college and all that stuff. So, But my family doesn't live up here anymore. We used to live in Jersey. We used to live in North Jersey for a little bit. Um, my parents ended up, deciding, for job reasons and all that stuff, they're not living here anymore, of course. So now they're down in Florida. They're about to retire too, so it kind of makes sense, retirement state. But there's that. And my brother's still in college. I can still visit him every once in a while, but it's hard because he's also got his own schedule. Um, and then my girlfriend, who recently got a job at a law firm, so I'm actually very happy about that. But now our time is also limited because she also works completely away from me. She actually works in a completely different state than me, and it's if I were to drive, it'd be quite a hefty price. Not just for the time wasted, but driving, but also just in terms of time. I mean, I'd probably be there for like one day on a weekend, and then I'd have to go back the next day. It's just it's not it just doesn't make sense. And on top of that, she's also busy with her family. Um, so it's tough. I don't know. Like on the one hand, I do think clearer, and I think a little bit less emotionally and more logically, um, for things like this, right? When I'm looking for new jobs, when I'm looking around, I am kind of I'm keeping those aspects into play, right? Like, do I want to move a little bit closer to my girlfriend? Do I want to move closer to my family? Things like that. Like my family's getting old, so it's it's tough. It's a tough dilemma, to be honest with you. But yeah, um, there is that. So it's a balancing act. I'm still working on it. I'm not sitting here and saying that, oh, I think clearer, so I make better decisions. I definitely don't. There are times where I just don't make a decision that's seems right at all. Seems more emotional, seems more impulsive, but I make it anyways. So, but I'll figure it out. I guess that's another one of my gripes as well, or another thing that kind of, I guess, upsets me. Is because like I'm 22. Sorry, Jesus, not 20. I'm not 22 anymore. 23. 23. 23. Um, I'm 23 years old, and I'm about a year into of tenure into my current company, and it's effectively been roughly 6 months since I have gone into a long distance relationship with my girlfriend. And it's just got me thinking, like, how long do I have to do this for? You know what I mean? Not the relationship, but just everything, you know? Being so far from my family, yeah, a little bit of relationship, being far from some friends and stuff. Um, I don't know. I think I always kind of envisioned my life to be a little bit different, you know? Um, everyone else's lives and I think I feel like I've made a video on this at some point, like social media has, emphasized the good and the bad like tenfold. But I always kind of envisioned my life to be a little bit more different, you know? Like my girlfriend would be living with me. Um, I'd be able to visit family and friends more often. Um, have a support group or something like that, a physical support group. Uh, I don't know, just kind of all in all, just like have life figured out by 23. And you know, it, when I say it right now out loud, I'm like, wow, I'm a fucking dumbass. Like, why would I ever think like life? You don't. No one figures life out by 23. You know what I mean? Like you would think that I'm saying this out loud, and it's just like, oh, I should like what the fuck? Like you're stupid for that. Like you're an idiot to even think like no one's life is figured out by 23. I don't even think people's lives are figured out by 30. You know. Um, but I guess I kind of envisioned my life to be a little bit different, to be a little bit more in line with how I wanted it to be. I have expectations. I have things that I want in life, to go and travel the world, right, with someone that I love, um, to live and maybe get married and all this shit and just just like just things that you'll see like someone from high school fucking live your life out, your dream life out, getting married and having kids and working phenomenal jobs, owning supercars or nice cars in general or whatever the fuck, right? Like I have some friends, I have some former colleagues that live, also live in the city, and some of them got girlfriends now that they live with, in in their own apartment. And it's like, damn, bro. You know what I mean? Like, why the fuck can I not have that? You know what I mean? And like I said, like when I'm saying this out loud right now, and it just sounds so stupid saying that. You know what I mean? It's like I want someone else's life, you know? And I feel like, the purpose of this channel, really when I started these videos was to kind of, help people and say like, hey, don't compare yourself to XYZ. Don't do this, don't do that. But it's like I find myself like comparing. Maybe it's just human nature. Maybe it's just human nature. Maybe that's just how it is, right? But I find myself comparing, myself a lot to other people, and I find myself also just not being content with life. And no matter how hard I work, no matter the effort that I put into my current job, I feel like I'm just stuck. You know, and it's just like it gets to the point where I come back home from work and it's just like I just want to be a fucking lazy chud and not do anything and just sit on the couch, sit on the chair and watch stupid ass YouTube videos about a goddamn Lego collection being stolen in Oregon or some other bullshit. You know what I mean? Like it's like it's not fulfilling for me, And then on top of that, like my relationship is effectively a fucking Discord relationship at this point, you know what I mean? Where all I'm doing is FaceTiming and calling, and it's like I try to figure out, hey, when am I gonna come over? And it's like she's busy. She's got things, she's got plans, she's got things to do with her family, and then I try to reach out to other people like my friends, and I'm like, hey guys, like let me come over, let's talk. And they're also busy, and they're like, oh no, I'm actually going here like next week, or I'm doing this. And it's like, and then I ask my family, and I'm like, hey guys, like I can come down to Florida for a little bit, and they're like, oh no, sorry, we just did, we just moved, we're busy, we're doing all this stuff, blah blah blah, this and that, and it's just, you know, I don't know. That's just me getting into a fucking rant. I didn't really expect that. Sorry. Um, I'm just I don't know. I'm tired of it. Like I have all this money. I have a nice apartment. I gotta you would think on paper I got a nice life, but it's so fucking unfulfilling. You know. Like most people would probably like let's lay out the stats on paper. I make six figures. I have a pretty decently stable job. I'm doing, somewhat stuff that I love to do, right? Coding, data engineering, blah, 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 this and that, right? Stuff that I studied for in college. I have a job. Most people don't even have a fucking job in this stupid ass economy right now. You know what I mean? I have a job and I'm still not content. Like just the other week, I wanted to just give up. I wanted to just say, fuck this, quit my job and just leech off my parents for like, I don't know, the rest of my life. right? Just be a fucking just be a fat loser. Just be a like just do nothing, you know? And that's hard to deal with mentally, I would say, you know. I don't know. Maybe I'm just going off the rails here, and most people will probably not even find this to be even relatively um, relatable or interesting or whatever. But it's just it. I'm getting to a point, where I really am trying hard, and I really am putting in the effort, and I feel like I just keep getting knocked down, from some external factor, from something else, you know, or I get talked down on, especially from like my, not gonna say who, but it related to my girlfriend, and I'm just it gets to a point, you know, so I'm just I guess like I'll just end this off with a rant and say I'm fucking tired of it. Um, you know, the one thing I am looking forward to is pizza. I'm getting a whole fucking pie this Friday. Fuck the cut. No, I'm just kidding. I'm still gonna do the cut, but no, I'm just I'm gonna get a pizza. It's my comfort food, I guess. Maybe get a cherry cola or some shit, and enjoy my Friday, I guess. And maybe we'll just redo it all again. But yeah, I don't know, guys. I'm sorry. It's a bit this. It's not. I didn't mean to go into a rant in this video, and I guess I'll upload it because like some of it, it's just how I feel in the moment. Like I don't want to, like I said, like I've said in the past videos before, I don't want to come off as like a guy that just knows everything. You know what I mean? Like my first video that I made on this channel was like how, it was supposed to be inspiring of like, hey guys, like I have a job. It's possible. Anything's possible, you know? And then, a couple months later, I feel stuck. I always knew that this job that I'm currently working is not the end goal at all. It never would be my end goal. You know, where I currently work, like not geographically, not geopolitically, geographically, where I live right now, right? Like it's not where I'm gonna work for the rest of my life. You know, and I'm looking for the flexibility to possibly see my family more and see friends more and stuff like that. But I can't lie, it gets hard. I understand it's only been a year, but it gets to a point. You know, it really does. It gets to a fucking point. So, um, you know, it is what it is. I'll leave it off with that, but just know I'll probably feel better tomorrow because I got a pizza in the works. So, um, anyways, sorry for not uploading as much. This is kind of the shit that I've been dealing with. Um, I guess if you guys prefer these sort of like video log sort of shit, like, hey, this was my week or this was what happened in the past month or whatever the hell, like, let me know. Um, I'll probably still do those, normal videos where I talk about advice, life experience, my life experience and stuff like that. Um, my opinions on certain things, all that stuff, right? But um, I think for the past month or so, I've had to vent it out somewhere. I feel like, I've had to put it out there and just say like, guys, on paper, it can seem like I got everything figured out, but in reality, I'm still struggling. Everybody struggles with the same shit, man. Doesn't matter what level you're at. You can be homeless and struggle with the same. I, you know, you can be like I could be making $300,000, right? 500,000. I could be making $1 million a year. I can make insane amount of money a year, right? And I would still feel the way that I feel. because I don't have anyone to spend it on, you know? No one in my immediate circle right now that's physically with me. I have no one to spend it on. All I'm doing is spending that shit on fucking pizza. Like pizza and anime figures, man. I maybe that's a dream for some of you guys. I don't know. But like for me, it's like I also want to spend it on people that I love, you know? And I just got no one. I got no one. So I just feel isolated. So, but all right. I'll stop my fucking ranting. Um, appreciate it as always. See you guys.